Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Heroes. So The Heroes is the fifth book in the First Law world, and it's the second standalone that comes after the initial trilogy. And the First Law world series is a fantasy series, and it's always very brutal but always at the same time very funny, which I really like. And I will link below the videos for the 4 books that come before this one if you want to check those out. And I really liked all of the 4 books that I read before from the series, and also the other book that I've read from this author that is not part of the series. So I've basically really liked everything that I've read from this author before. So I was definitely very excited to get into this book and to just, be back in this world and hopefully see some characters that I had previously met, and obviously meet some new characters as well. And I just want to say that there are definitely spoilers for everything that happens in this book, in this video. And having said that, let's get into it. Okay, so I am on page 243 of The Heroes, which is like 40-ish%. And at first I wanted to update like every third, as I usually do, but then I realized that this is divided like into days. And so I read like the before and day 1, and now like I stopped just before day 2. So I thought it would make maybe more sense to update like with every day than just like randomly stop. I wouldn't like randomly stop in the middle of the first day. And so I decided to do it like this. And I think this is set like 7 years after the end of the first trilogy. And we are following mainly 3 POVs, but then we also have like some random POVs sometimes. And there is a war going on between the Union and the North, like again. And at first I was like, why is there even a war going on? And then like some of the characters were like asking, why are we here? And then they explained, and I tabbed it because I was like, okay, thank you so much for the explanation. And basically they say, Black Thou, which is the guy that like now is in charge of the North, says, Black Thou turned on Bloody Nine and took the chain for himself. But the Dogman called Thou a traitor, an oath breaker, and most of the clan from down near Ufrith, they tended to his way of seeing things. The king of the Union too, having been on some mad journey with Nine Fingers, and made a friend of him. So the Dogman and the Union decided to make war on Black Thou, and here we all are. So that's why there is a war going on, and basically we have the like before the battle, and then we have day 1 of the battle, which is what I read. And so like I said, we are following mainly 3 characters, and we are following like 1 from the Union and 2 from the North. And so firstly we have Gorst, and he is the one from the Union, and he is a like sort of disgraced swordsman that is trying to like regain his honor. Then we have Calder from the North, and he's actually Bethed's younger son, I think. And Bethed was like the guy that was the leader of the North in the first trilogy. So he's his son, and he just like wants power and is willing kind of to do anything to get it. And they also have Craw, who's also from the North, and he just claims that he wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't even know like what the right thing is anymore, with like this whole war going on. And we see basically like their first day of battle. and the North like wins that battle. Like there are a lot of casualties on both sides, but definitely like the Union got the worst of it. And also like the heroes is a place. It's like a hill thingy. So it's where like a lot of this battle is happening. It's like a very important position that both of the sides want to have because it will be very helpful for like the both of their sides, both of the fighting. It will be very helpful for them to have like that position. So they both basically want the heroes. And we've also seen some other familiar faces. We've seen Bayaz, we've seen Ishri, we've seen Shivers. And like Bayaz, we saw him, I think, like twice. And actually, like Bayaz, he really annoys me. But also, like, I think that the both of the times that he appeared were some of the times that I was like actually the most excited about because he's really annoying, but also like when he's there, like the scene is so interesting, like the things that he says, like he knows so much and he has like so much power, and like when we're with him he annoys me, but also like he makes the scene great. And also Shivers, like he in the previous book, in the Best Served Cold, I think that's what it was called, he like spent most of the book, especially the like first half of the book, claiming that he just wanted to be a better person, and now he's like a piece of shit. So there's that. And we also know that Black Dog, he wants to kill Calder, at least like people tell Calder that. And Calder, like he gives the idea after this first day of battle, he tells the men that maybe they should just want peace. And most of them don't really seem interested in that idea. And yeah, there's pretty much what's happening. Like there are a lot of details obviously that we get from the battles, and like in the big scheme of things, I think that is pretty much what happened. And like I'm liking it, but I am definitely not loving it as I expected I would, and as like I like and love the other books that I read from this world. So I'm kind of a little disappointed. And also there are so many characters. Like here in the beginning of the book, like before we get to the actual story, there are like 5 pages of characters of like everyone. There's like basically like in the armies, both for the Union and for the North, and I'm like, there is no way in hell I'm gonna memorize who all of these people are. So like basically I know the names that I told you in this update. Like I know who they are, I know who they fight for. Like everyone else, I have no idea. When like a random character appears, I mean not even a random, like characters that have appeared a couple times, they're talking, I'm like, I have no idea who you are. But like then with the context clues, and then when one of the characters I know appears, I'm like, okay, so you're fighting for this side, you're in this army. But like I'm it's a lot of people. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of characters that we have in this book, and I definitely don't know who most of them are. And yeah, like I said, it's going okay. We are just following, you know, this war, this battle, and I am like invested to see where it goes, but also I'm not like caring like all that much. And I think that's because I don't feel particularly connected to any of the characters that we're following so far, because like I said, a bunch of people have died, and like, you know, characters that I saw for a few pages, so I don't really care that much. So yeah, I'm liking it, but there are also some times that I'm kind of bored, honestly, and yeah, I hope it gets more interesting. I think like I was checking the reviews as well for this book, and I think this is the one from this world that I've seen so far that people like either really love it or really don't like it. And I feel like all of the other books, like the reviews I've read, were all either like very positive or just mostly positive. And for this one, I saw a lot of people like, this is amazing, I gave it 5 stars, absolutely loved it, and other people being like, this is the worst book I've read from this author. So like, I mean, so far that definitely is the one that I like the least from this author, but also like I've really liked all of the other books that I read from this author, so it doesn't mean that I don't like it, but it's definitely the one so far at least that I'm liking the least. Because it's feeling like maybe 3 stars, which is really sad because I really expected to love it, because I love all the other books. So yeah, it's going okay. It's going well. I'm definitely not disliking it, but I'm sadly also not loving it. But yeah, I'm gonna read day two, and I will be back with updates. Okay, so I have read day two of the battle. I am on page 388, and as you can see, I'm about to start day three next. And so in this second day, Baez has like an experiment going on. He even brought like some, I think, professors like from the university with like the device that he wants to use for his experiment. And like at first it seems to be working. There are like some explosions and things, but then it like malfunctions. So that happened. It wasn't very effective. I assume he's gonna try to use it again in the third day, like fix it and try to use it again. I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is that it did not really work, or at least like it seems that it didn't really work. Then you also see that the like Northmen, they kill one of the Union soldiers that was like bringing a message from one of the like, I don't know what their title is. I don't know if it says here in the beginning, actually. A general, a colonel, I'm not entirely sure. One of the like people in charge of like one section of the army. So he was bringing like a message from one of them to another, and that soldier is like killed by some of the Northmen, and they see like that like he's carrying a message, but they can't read it because it's in like the other language. So they take it to Calder, who can read like the language that the Union speaks, and basically he has like inside information of where an attack is gonna come from. So that's obviously very useful for him. And then we also see that two women that were like in the Union camp, they are kidnapped by some of the Northmen, and Black Thou talks to one of them because like her father is like also one of the guys in charge of like a part of the army in the Union, and he tells her that he wants to talk to her father to basically negotiate peace, which I'm like suspicious of, but okay. And so he tells her like he will let her go so she can pass on this message, and she like negotiates the release of I think 60 like wounded prisoners that they had taken. And then she does go talk to her father, and he seems to like also want to negotiate peace, but Baez tells him not to, especially after he learns that the Northmen are like allied with the Southerners that like are huge enemies of Baez, so he does not want to negotiate with them. He does not trust them, and he tells like the other people from the Union that they should not trust them. And then finally, I think the last thing, like big thing that we see, because obviously like there are a lot of again small things happening, like fights and people killing each other, but like from the main things, or what I think are the main things, we also see Calder asking Crow to kill Black Thou, and he says that like he can't kill him. He's like his job is kind of like to protect him, so he can't kill him, and he feels like obligated by his honor to tell Black Thou that Calder asked him to kill him. So he tells Calder because like he also really cares about Calder. I think he like saw him grow up or something. He also tells Calder that like he should run away. So like he will give him a day to run away before he tells Black Thou. But Calder is like, I'm not gonna run away. I'm tired of being a coward, and I'm gonna fight. And I have like this information from that guy from the Union. So yeah, he's not gonna run. He's gonna fight. And yeah, that is pretty much what I've read in the second day. And like, I'm still liking it. I'm still not loving it. Although I feel like this end of the second day, I felt like it was more exciting. And I don't know if like it was me, or I was more like in a reading mood, or if it really was the book that got more exciting. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely got more interested in this last part that I read. And also something that I find, I don't think funny is the word because it's kind of sad, is that like everyone hates
everyone, even like on the same side of this battle, like people in the union, they all hate each other. Like the people in charge, they all hate each other. The people in the north, they also all hate each other. Even like if they're fighting on the same side, they all hate each other. So that's, that's a thing that's happening. And yeah, I definitely, like I said, got more interested in this second day, especially like towards the end of the second day. A lot of more things happened that I was like into and I was like excited about. So yeah, maybe I will love the third day because I was getting way more interested in what's happening. So, things seem to be looking up. I was never like disliking the book. I was never not enjoying it, but definitely not, loving it. Definitely not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. But yeah, so far so good. I am excited to see where the third day goes. And third day like is quite long. It's a little over 200 pages. So I'm sure a lot will happen here, and yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. And I feel like I'm definitely getting more attached to the characters as the book goes on, so maybe that will also help, with my enjoyment, with like feeling like the stakes are high. Because obviously, like the stakes are high. This is a battle, this is a war, but the stakes for me personally, like the people that I care about, I'm getting more attached to them, so I feel like that will also, make me more invested, make me more also nervous for what's happening. So yeah, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to read day 3 and I will be back with my final thoughts. Okay, so I have finished The Heroes, and before we get into any of what happened in this last third-ish, or like my thoughts about it, I just want to say that it was, I think, 10 or 11 days between me finishing day 2 and me starting day 3 of this book. So, like, I think I remember everything that happened, but if I say something that doesn't seem to make sense with the rest of the video, then it turns out I didn't remember everything that happened. So, there's that, because like I went on vacation and I didn't read anything. So yeah, I came back and then I finished the book, and I just finished it today. So I am, here to tell you what happened on day 3, and also we have like after the battle. And so in this day 3, the Northmen, they attack at like dawn. And so obviously there are some casualties on the Union side, but still like it's not as bad as it could have been. And then like the big fight of that day starts, and at first the Union is like winning, and even like some of the Northmen, they hear that the Bloody Nine is actually alive and that he's fighting for the Union and that he's like coming for them, and so they run in fear and they like abandon their posts basically. But then when the like leaders of those men that ran off find out that they have ran, they like force them to go back, and to fight again. And then like things change and the Northmen are actually like with the upper hand now, and they are actually winning. And also there was a character that I think appeared on day 2, or like at least he was more present on day 2, and he's called Beck, and I think he's like a pretty young guy. And basically like so like the Northmen, they like get their like names. They're like named men who are like the most renowned fighters, I would say, or they have like done, big thing that earns them their name. And so he earns the name Red Beck. because like the others think that he had killed a bunch of Union men on his own and was like the only survivor of his little group. And he doesn't tell them otherwise, but actually he, like the others that he was with were the ones that killed the Union men. He actually, the only person that he killed was another Northman, because he was confused during the fight and he thought that he was a Union man, but he was like one of his companions. So the only person that he killed was actually, you know, one of his maybe friends. And so he feels terrible about it, and he keeps being like praised, because like he doesn't want to say that what really happened, because it would be, you know, kind of embarrassing for him, and like he feels really bad. So when they keep like praising him and using him as an example, it feels really, really bad. But yeah, like I was saying, the Northmen, they get the upper hand. They are now winning. And so the commander of the Union Guard, he wants to negotiate peace. And so he sends, I mean, he doesn't send, like his daughter wants to go talk with Black Dow, because she like has talked to him before. And so she goes talk to him to negotiate peace, and they do actually like negotiate peace. They get to an agreement. And then when they get back, there is like an attack with like lightning and explosions and whatever. And that was like Ishri's attack, because she said that she had a surprise for Bias. Like after Bias's attack, she said that she would have, you know, her own attack. And so that happened. And as Black Thou says, that was very bad timing, because they had just negotiated peace. And like I thought that would actually lead to more fighting, but no, they kept, you know, their agreements, and like the battle ended. And after like the battle has ended, Black Dow does talk to Ishri and tells her that he doesn't really want to be like used for her feud with Bias, and she then just like leaves. She literally like vanishes into thin air. So that happens. And then after the battle is done, Black Dow, he calls Calder, because he has learned that Calder tried to have Craw kill him, and so like he calls Calder to kill him, but Calder actually challenges him for a duel, and he agrees. So they will have a duel, and Craw actually, like, he's done with fighting. He says that he's gonna retire, and he like leaves. And then we have the fight between Black Dow and Calder, and Black Dow is winning like very easily. Like Calder is about to die, but then Shivers actually kills Black Dow, and so Calder is like named the King of the Northmen, because he is like Bethod's son. So they started calling him the king. So he's named king, and then he goes talk to Bias to kind of like negotiate the terms of peace. And we learned that Bias, as always, was like behind a lot of the things, and he had like men in the north that were sort of making sure that Calder would be the one to become the next king of the Northmen, because that's like the person that he wants leading the north. And we also see that Beck goes back home to his farm and decides to just not have anything else to do with fighting, and he's like pretty precious. So I really like that. And we also see that like after the peace is, you know, agreed, the like Bias tells Calder that he can have his brother back, because he has been captured by the Union. And Calder does take his brother back, and Bias actually expects him to kill his brother, because he's like older than Calder, so he would have like the claim to the throne. But Calder actually does like crown his brother as the king of the Northmen. So that happened. And then at the very end, like the very last chapter, we see that like there's new fighting starting in the north, because basically like the person who actually tried to kill Calder like before was not sent by Black Dow. He was sent by his father-in-law, like Calder's father-in-law. So then like Calder wanted his father-in-law dead, but making it seem like he was someone else who did it. So like there's fighting starting again, and Craw is actually joining the fight once again. So yeah, that is how the book ended. That is what happened, and let's go into my final thoughts. So starting off with the characters, I feel like I didn't really particularly like any of these characters, or like especially like the main three characters that we're following. I didn't particularly connect to any of them either, and I feel like that is part of the problem of why I didn't love this book. And like there were a couple other minor characters, I guess, that I did like and I did connect to a bit more, but like from the main characters they were following, I didn't really care about any of them really. out of the three, like Crow, I think was definitely the one that I liked the most, but like I still definitely didn't love him. And I'm not saying that like the characters were like not good. I still think that we were like very well written and they were all very like complex and very human. However, personally, I didn't really connect to any of them. So that's, yeah, that didn't really help me like loving the whole story because I wasn't really as connected to the characters as I am in other books. And also, there were so many characters to keep track of. And I mean, this could be like my problem that I have like a very terrible memory. I'm terrible with names, and like I'm the problem for sure. But I did struggle with that because there were way too many people, way too many names. It was a lot. And also there was like a lot of action. Obviously, this was a book that was literally just about a war. So obviously there was a lot of action always, but at the same time, it felt kind of slow. I think I have talked about this before, but Cece was like, the whole book was 3 days. Even though like there was a lot of action happening, it was also moving slowly because, you know, 600 pages were 3 days. So obviously it was sort of slow. But I did really like the action scenes. I thought they were really good and they were definitely really gruesome. And the book as a whole was very like brutal and at the same time funny, which is what I've come to always expect from this author. And like, I mean, it definitely delivered on that. And I did really like that. And I also did really like the discussions, I guess, that we had about like war itself and the effects of war, the consequences of war, and how horrible it is, obviously. But that's, even though like it has all those consequences and it is as horrible as it is, some people still like love it, and there are some people who are like great at it and feel like it's the only thing that they know how to do, and others obviously hate it and would rather have nothing to do with it but don't really have a choice. So I really liked those discussions, and I was definitely like invested in the outcome of this war. So like I was invested in the plot, I just wasn't loving it. But I feel like the third day was definitely like my favorite part of the book. And I don't know if it's because like I was in a different mood, because like I said, it has been 10 days, or it had been 10 days between like reading day 2 and reading day 3. So like I don't know if it was me, like I was in a different mood, I was in a different mindset, or if it really was like the most exciting part. I don't really know, but it was definitely my favorite. And I obviously really like to be back in this world and to be back with some characters that we had previously met. And the third part also definitely had some interesting like twists and reveals that I also enjoyed. So I liked it. However, it is definitely my least favorite that I've read from the series and also that I've read from this author. So I'm giving it 3.5 stars, which is definitely not a bad rating. It's certainly not. I was, I think, feeling more towards 3 stars in like the first and second day, but this third day, like I said, I definitely did enjoy more. So yeah, I am giving it 3.5 stars. And yeah, that is it. I am still very excited to continue reading this series because, like I said, I still love the world. I still really like the characters. Even if I don't connect to them, I think they're all like incredibly written. And I love how like brutal and funny it is at the same time. So yeah, definitely very excited to keep going with the series. But that is everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!